Hello, welcome to Talking Trades, a weekly podcast where we talk about comics so you don't have to. I'm Jeremy, I'm a DC fan.
And I'm John, I'm a Marvel nut.
And this is definitely a weekly podcast. We haven't taken that much time off. Why are you asking? John, it's spooky month during the recording.
It is.
We'll see if it comes out the spooky month, because who knows? Honestly, I don't know, because everything has been crazy in life. So while we're in spooky month, how you been? What's been spooking you? Anything new and exciting? Anything new and exciting? New scares? New candy or anything like that?
Not that I can think of. I, in general, am very, very scare averse.
Well, the world's already scary enough, right?
So, right. But in general, even before that,
Too real.
very, very scare averse. Last scary movie I saw in theaters was It, and I never saw Chapter 2.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got, was that it was fine. So I'm like, all right.
Well,
I
liked it too. But like, if you're not a scary, It too was not scary, in my opinion. But I'm also a massive horror buff, so I could be a little bit more used to it. But
fair,
that's
fair.
fine. That's fair.
But I've just been dealing with life by throwing myself into massive JRPGs.
As one
does.
What is the most recent JRPG you've been playing?
Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 2.
Okay.
Which I jumped into immediately after the first one. I have the third one bought, and the fourth one comes out in like 2 weeks.
That's a lot of stuff going on.
It's going great, Jeremy. It's going great.
Sounds like you really enjoy the games.
I do. The game is some really solid world building. It's very like European-ish wartime political intrigue and struggles, but also there's like magic.
Your jam.
Yeah, it's really cool.
With magic, yeah, that's your jam. That's your
like
that's your ish right
it's very, very rich world building, very, very rich character development. And
Gotcha.
My favorite thing, because I'm a baby, is when you die in the game, it gives you the option to retry, weaken the enemies and retry, or go to the main menu.
Ooh.
The weaken enemies and retry, it's been a godsend.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd be using that every time.
But it also gives you like, if I just feel like I got the bad end of RNG, then I can just retry. But if I feel like this is insane, I didn't get a turn, I can weaken them and retry, or I can just be a purist and quit to the main menu. So it really gives the player the options of what to do, which is nice.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad you're having fun with it.
Yeah,
well, I watched all of Haunting of Hill House, which I know I'm very late to the party. All you spook fans out there, it was really good, really well acted, really well written. Like the whole thing's very entertaining, very scary. And then I immediately dove into The Haunting of Bly Manor because I was so intrigued by.
You were Bly curious, as they say.
I was very. Okay, well, John, I don't know that I can ever top that joke, so I think what I'm going to have to do is just end my podcasting career, because that was perfect. That was so funny. Oh my god. I was very Black Curious, though. I also got to be on another podcast.
Ooh.
I was on the Movies with Matt podcast with my good friend Matt Freris, and he is a friend I knew from high school. Very good dude. He moved out west to become a filmmaker, an auteur, if you will, and he's making it big out there. He lives in, I believe it's Arizona now, and so he invited me on, and we talked. We did 2 episodes, actually. We talked for 6 hours. We talked. The first episode was all about comic book movies, so check that out. It's very
perfect.
Very perfect for this show. And then the second episode was about horror and other things, but mostly horror, because the spooky month. And we had a great time. It was nice catching up with him. It was good catching up with an old friend. And it was fun to talk about comic book movies. Sometimes when John and I get going, we're a little bit of an echo chamber, so it's kind of interesting to hear someone else's perspective every once in a while. And it was kind of interesting to hear, just to talk with somebody whose perspective I hadn't heard before. And it was a really good time. But check that out. Movies with Matt is the podcast. It is on iTunes, Google Play, things like that. And it's worth checking out. We talked, like I said, for 2 hours, and we had a really, really fun time. And I'll be on the next episode in a little bit here, but by the time this episode comes out, Movies of Matt episode 2 with Jeremy will be already out. But check them both out. It's also just a good podcast to listen to. He does a good job. He's a good talker. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been up to in our absence. But let's see what everyone else in the world has been up to in This Week in Geek.
This Week in Geek.
This Week in Geek. We've got a couple weeks worth of news here, and for a bit there, it was like, oh, there's some news, nothing insane, but then, boom, we got a bunch of news. First big thing of news, Green Lantern's 10-episode HBO Max series, written by Arrowverse corrector Mark Guggenheim, and will feature Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, Alan Scott, Sinestro, and Kilowog. So, unfortunately, Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz are in it. And that's not me mocking those characters because they're, a woman of color and a person of... He's Muslim, right? I'm mocking them because they were poorly written. So maybe they can actually fix them in this.
I'm not saying they didn't get better. I'm saying that I could not get into Green Lanterns.
It's a bad book. I wanted those characters to succeed. I didn't like them. What is interesting,
especially because, is... I love Jessica Cruz's character model. Like, I love the lantern over the eye. Like, that is awesome. Yep. I didn't love how the first arc was, how the female lantern just couldn't do it and too weak. That did not vibe with me at all.
It's not good. What is interesting is you have Alan Scott, who's an openly gay lantern. You have Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, who are people of color. Then you get Guy Gardner, who's just the worst. So this it's an interesting,
and you have
Kilowog, show.
Who's just the best.
Oh, he's great, and Sinestro, who's awesome.
I'm curious if Sinestro is going to be on the core or not.
Yeah, you don't. I don't know. If they go with more recent canon, then he couldn't be because Simon and Jessica are there.
Yeah, I was going to say you could more or less have to, unless it's another Elseworlds, which it's DC. That's very on brand.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So who knows? The thing is, I don't think there are people who are currently interested who would not see a Sinestro twist coming, so I guess maybe you don't.
Yeah, just make him the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy now. That's just fine. It worked. It would have worked in the movie with Ryan Reynolds because some people weren't familiar with the character, but everything about that movie didn't work, so never mind. But yeah, I'm excited that they're making this. I'm excited to see this. I think this will be fun. And more of this, please. Thank you very much.
Please.
Next up, we have some more DC. No, it's actually Disney movies. DC is rebranding the non-MCU films. So
Disney.
Things like Ang Lee's Hulk. Things like... Sorry?
You said DC again. Disney is rebranding.
What's up? DC is rebranding the non-MCU films. So
Disney.
Like Ang Lee's Hulk. I said Disney that time.
I keep hearing DC. It could be the technology situation that we got going on.
The Mouse is rebranding all of the MCU films that are not MCU films into Marvel Legacy, which is also what they did with Star Wars. Or are those Legends?
Star Wars is
Legends. But it's another way of making their own canon and erasing the other things and making so it's very easy to understand which one is which. And I'm kind of happy about this, actually. And it'll be on Disney
Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four Stick.
Oh, God.
X-Men. All of those.
Yeah, so those will be considered Marvel Legacy on Disney Plus. So it's not just like, like internally we're calling it this. Like, so now you can search Disney Plus and find that, which is cool. It makes it easy to understand, or easier to understand, and I like that. I always like when things are easier to understand.
I like it too, because then you can also browse and you can find MCU and everything here is what it is. Then you can go Marvel Legacy and find, like, it's separated as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
So you just, I'm going to go, delve down this rabbit hole and just kind of pick whatever you want, which is nice.
Yeah, how come Hugh Jackman never shows up in Spy? Oh, it's because he's in Legacy. Now I understand.
Yeah.
Because, down the road, people may not know that,
That's very true. Note for Disney Plus as well. I didn't put it in here, but it's not 100% comic related, but they are putting a disclaimer in front of some of the animated films that they have that feature some problematic depictions. Notably, Peter Pan, Dumbo, and Aristocats were called out.
What does Aristocats have in it? I haven't seen that movie in forever.
There's a pretty bad depiction of an Asian cat.
Oh my god, I remember that. The Siamese cats?
Yeah, no, that's Lady
Oh my god.
So I'd imagine it was there as well. This one had, I believe he was using chopsticks to play chopsticks on a piano. If I remember correctly.
Oh, that's incredibly racist.
Yeah, wow. I want to say he had a hat as well. I'm not 100%.
No!
It's been
Didn't that movie come out in the 90s?
No, Aristocats is... I'll look that up, but it's not in the 90s.
Okay.
It got released on video in the 90s.
Sure. I don't remember that movie hardly at all. Maybe that's for a good thing, now that I'm hearing all this stuff. Peter Pan is the one where, like, yeah, that one.
Peter Pan and Dumbo, you're like, I get it. No questions asked. I understand. 1970 is Aristocats.
Holy cow, wow. I didn't know that. Dumbo... I don't like Dumbo, period.
No.
It's just too sad.
Apparently I loved it as a kid, but my mom, to this day, she's like, I can't deal with Dumbo. It's so sad.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, my
mom's the
I haven't
same way.
watched
She
it
hates
since.
that movie.
I have no desire to see it.
And I'm like, because of the mother-child thing? She's like, no, the animal abuse thing. No. The mother-son thing is sad, but like my mom's more upset about the animal abuse thing, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's very
like, he's going to get back and find his mom, but like, animal abuse is, circus animal abuse is like a big thing with my family. My mom, I think we went to the circus once as kids, and we were like, this is kind of messed up. She's like, yeah, right, it's kind of messed up. I'm like, yeah, this is like not great.
Cool, we're never going
pretty
again.
Abused. Yeah, exactly. She's like, okay, cool. So we all see this now. My dad's like, yeah, I don't like this either. So like, I'm good. It all worked out perfectly.
But yeah, the disclaimer says like there are problematic depictions in this film. Rather than remove the content, we feel it's important to have it here and recognize the problem, like how problematic it is, and learn from it going forward.
I agree. Also,
is pretty much the conversation there.
The rest of Peter Pan is a good movie. Like it's still got some good messages, but acknowledging the problems and acknowledging it is a good idea.
That scene/song number is the problem.
And you acknowledge it, and you agree to not do it again. I think that's a good idea.
I say that I haven't seen that movie in at least 25 plus years.
I don't think I've ever seen it fully. I prefer Hook with Dennis Hoffman much more for my Peter Pan.
I haven't seen Hook all the way through. I tried watching it one night and it was just slow and I couldn't get into it, so I turned it off. I've done this before with things I have come to love, such as Wet Hot American Summer.
That starts off really slow.
It does. I put it on for like 8 minutes. I'm like, this is not doing it. So then I watched.
You just barely missed it too.
Yeah. So then I put on the Netflix show, and I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. So then I watched the movie, and then so I actually got to see it story wise chronologically, which was neat.
Yeah, it's a good
for
movie.
What it is. But yeah, it's. Because my childhood was, I had a ton of the Disney movies on VHS, and I would just kind of go one to the next, to the next, to the next. So I'm very well versed in Disney.
Really good. I would say give Hook another chance. It's very, very good.
You should. And it's 100%.
You know what?
I am the problem. I had every opportunity to watch it and just didn't.
Absolutely. But you know what people also had the opportunity to watch and now want it to come back? Static Shock.
Animaniacs?
That too, but Static Shock. Another Warner Brothers title. Michael B. Jordan is going to spearhead a Static Shock movie. I don't have the details in front of me. I believe he's producing it?
Yes.
Or is he starring in it?
I believe at this point he's producing.
Let's see here.
But yeah, Static Shock is, of course, based on a DC Comics character, which debuted in 93.
So it's so what's important about that is not just that he debuted in 93, but the fact that all these pop culture classics, all the the movies and the comics are from characters that are so old, 60s, 70s, but Static Shock has been ignored for the most part by a lot of people, which is ridiculous. So his company, the Outlier Society, it looks like, is going to produce this film and bring it into the limelight, which is also coming on the heels of DC putting out all of the comics from Static Shock's original company, which is, let me get that name. I want to make sure I get the right name. Static Comic.
We talked before. Static Shock has such a fan base, but it was like just after my time, so I just missed Static Shock.
Yes. We also talked about Static Shock in the, what's it called? What Milestone is the comic company that debuted Milestone. Static Shock, the Chris. But we talked about that in the Fandom episode, and all of that stuff is going to be coming out on Comixology and stuff like that in the near future, which is great. And to have that stuff come out and you have a Static Shock movie come out, genius. This character deserves to be loved. He should be a bigger deal than he is. And to put somebody like Michael B. Jordan at the helm, or at least have him as a part of it, would bring some incredibly good name recognition to this as well.
What's interesting, I think it might have been from Fandom, could have been from something different, but I remember Phil Lamar, who is the man of 1,000 plus voices.
I think he has over 1,000 credits to his name.
Yeah. He portrayed Virgil Hawkins, Static Shock.
Yep.
And he was wearing a Static Shock shirt with, I want to say, the creator or someone of that degree.
The creator.
And they said, like, oh, cool, would you be able to give me one of those shirts? And he goes, no, I was given this shirt when I worked on this show, and there's been no more merch since.
He said to the creator, by you. You gave me this shirt. So I can't give you a shirt.
Was it Fandom?
It was Fandom.
Okay, cool. Because, I'm just like, wow, that's
depressing.
Character has a fan base.
And it's not like a fan base that, like, is passive. Like, oh, I'd watch that, I guess. People are like, I need more Static in my life. I want Static Shock. Please give me more Static Shock. I love this character. And they've been in the desert for a long time, but they may finally see rain, which would be fantastic.
Do you think some of that is due to just Milestone and legal potential issues with that?
I think that the Milestone coming back to DC is a reason for, or like them getting like whatever rights they had is a reason for the comics to be published. I think the fact that there hasn't been a movie about it is because, I don't know if you know this, John, but most of our society is run by old white men. And a young black character is a scary thing to old white people. That's what I think. I think it is mostly because of that.
I love the baby voice you had.
Well, you got to talk down to some people because they don't understand it. Racism is real. Yeah. But yes, I think that the reason it's happening now is because people are waking up, and I think the reason it hasn't happened is because of racism. But I do think the reason the comics are coming back is legal issues.
Got it.
Like, from what I understand, Jim Lee was trying to do that for more than just now. Like, that's not a new thing. That's not a oh, hey, I'll just start doing this now thing. Like, he had been working on that.
Do you think the critical and commercial success of Into the Spider-Verse also makes this a lot more financially viable as a movie?
Absolutely. That movie did gangbusters and as far as profits, and I mean, shoot, I have kids in my building who wear Miles shirts. Like, it doesn't matter like what color they are. They just love that character, as they should. He's a phenomenal character. So yeah, that was a huge deal to see a black leading man in comic books being able to sell things is a big deal, because that's all it is. That's all it comes down to is money for some of these people.
Yeah, because people, friends, acquaintances, etc., asked me after I saw Spider-Verse, like, how would I put it? Because I'm the Spider-Man guy in general. And I say, as I said then, is like, there's Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, then there's 5 empty tears, then there's Spider-Man 2. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
It's not a bad story, I'll tell you what. I'd read that book.
A lot of people saying Spider-Man 2 doesn't hold up, and I'm a crapshoot old man.
Who says Spider-Man 2 doesn't hold up?
People, just on the internet.
Morons? Is that what you meant to say? Did you mean to say morons?
I mean, like, Homecoming is probably a better movie. I just like Spider-Man 2 a lot better. It just
because something's better doesn't mean the other one's not good.
No, yeah, I'd never call it a bad movie. It's easily like the crown jewel of the Raimi trilogy.
Yeah, but like I can't even believe somebody would say that it's not. It's still the best, man. I mean, with the exception of Spider-Verse, I think Spider-Man 2 is better than Homecoming, purely on a like okay. So you got to look at it with inflation. Like if they had the money that they had, and they had the people that they had to make that movie, to make.
Well, if you had the technical know-how of today and the filmmaking styles of today, because if you watch Spider-Man 2, yeah, it's painfully obvious a lot of scenes are on a movie set. And that's just how films are done today versus they were done in 2002? Question mark?
It's that long ago, huh?
3?
Point is, movie holds up. It's great. But what else may hold up is a brand new Iron Fist run. What? Where did this come from?
Left field. Spider-Man 2, 2004, by the way.
Okay, 2004. Yeah, so we're getting a new Iron Fist, and we're also getting a new Doctor Strange run, it looks like.
Well, there's a new Sorcerer Supreme.
An entirely new Sorcerer Supreme.
Do you know who the new Sorcerer Supreme is going to be?
I don't. Who is it?
It's pretty neat. Spoiler alert.
Who is it?
It's going to be Blade.
What a good idea.
It's Blade.
I mean, make Blade comics again, you know what I'm saying?
They are. That's exactly what this is.
And we've got, what's his name is going to portray him in the movie? The guy who played, I wanted to say Kingpin, but that's not right. It was the
I can't stop thinking of Wesley Snipes. I know that's who portrayed him, not who will portray him.
Yeah, what's the guy's name? Copperhead or the snake name guy from Luke Cage season 1? Cottonmouth.
Yes.
That actor, who's also in Green Book, probably would have been better. People know.
Is it Muhammad Ali? Not Muhammad Ali. Mahershala.
Not Muhammad Ali. Yes, that's who it is.
Sorry. First.
Although now, zombie Muhammad Ali is coming back from the dead to play Blade. Hey, this seems bad. No, it's gonna be fine.
That's right. We got Marvel zombies with actual Marvel zombies.
Oh my god. Float like a butterfly, sting like a brain. So that doesn't work. No, it's fair. Okay. Anyway, new Sorcerer Supreme, new Marvel Iron Fist series, 6-issue run. Very excited for that. The last bit of news I have here is about the future of DC Comics. And what I mean by that is literally they're going into the future. And they're going to do an Avengers Out of Time style story. So they're going to have the next event, which was originally going to be 5G, it looks like, is now the Future State event. And what this is in December, every major title in DC Comics is either going to wrap up an arc or will go into kind of a mini hiatus. And then they'll be put on complete hiatus until February of 2021. And that's going to leave space so they can do a Future State event. What this is going to be is Booster Gold is leading a team of time-hopping heroes or time-displaced heroes, people like the 1938 Batman and other characters whose name Steel is in there. The cave boy from Final Crisis is going to be in it. Things like that. And we're going to have a time-hopping event or a time stasis event that will deal with the future of the DC Comics world. And then after that, they keep saying this, it's not going to be a reboot, but it will be a new jumping on point for people, for new readers. But it will not be a reboot. It's not going to be a reboot. I don't know why you keep saying reboot. It's not going to be a reboot. I think that's been said like 35 times on Twitter and or other things, that it will not be a reboot. But it's still interesting that they are not closing their doors.
Remains on the readers' minds. Will this be a reboot?
What is the question that remains, John? I'm sorry. What was that?
And they get to comment. Who knows?
They've yet to comment on what?
Will this be a reboot? We need answers.
I've heard. We just got a statement here that says this will not be a reboot. So it's very ambiguous as of yet. We'll have to just wait and see.
It's just too early to say.
It's too early to say. To quote Jim Lee, this will not be a reboot. So I don't know. Anything's possible.
It's very cryptic. Very cryptic.
Yeah, what could that mean?
I don't know.
Probably means it's
good.
Reboot.
And off mic, you likened it to the Marvel All New All Different, where everything wrapped. We're doing this stuff now. Jump in here.
Yeah, if you missed this, hey, it's still okay. You didn't miss anything. You're able to catch in.
One cool thing, I don't know if you've seen. I'm gonna try and find them. The covers for it
for the Future State.
Yeah,
I have not. Why don't you...
They're very vibrant, very colorful.
I love that. I love when Marvel used to
and
do that.
They feature, like in the bottom right corner, it says featuring these characters.
Ooh.
For example, Superman of Metropolis is featuring Jonathan Kent, Guardian, and Mr.
I like when they did that. I thought that made it easier to like know.
Also,
which
Kara
comics to buy,
Zor-El, Superwoman.
but it also just is like a cool little throwback. Oh no! Don't tell me things that make me need to buy other things. No, tell me.
Oh no, Jeremy!
We're on a comic book podcast.
Okay, then never mind.
Okay, let me see there.
Here's the cover for Future State Superman.
It looks kind of like
Kingdom
Comes.
What is that? What is that? That crest?
Hold on. Can you put that back up a little bit?
Do you recognize that crest?
Oh no, it is. But he's like Bizarro.
You know it does.
Oh no.
Yeah, sure can.
Man.
Bam, bam, bam. I mean, that could be just the camera and the technology reeling.
They're gonna make me do this.
It says featuring Clark Kent, Midnighter.
I'm very behind on my DC Comics, so if they
Black
can give me
Racer,
another
and Mr. Miracle.
Point, that'd be great. Let me catch back up. Oh,
I'm in for
awesome.
the Superman Metropolis. That sounds neat. Also, Superman versus Imperious Lex.
Ooh,
I'm here for that.
Let's go.
Yeah. Also, the cover is very much like propaganda style, which is neat. There's Lex
an
like
evil
a halo.
dictator who doesn't tell the truth.
Also, like
I love escapist fiction.
His face is put on the body. It's weird. I don't know.
Speaking of escapist fiction, let's jump right into this week. Wow, that's not the word this is called. It's been a bit. Holy cow! We're jumping into the pull list.
Here's your pull list.
On the podcast this week, we've got some spooky stories. It's me, Ghoul Jeremy. Boo.
Yeah.
Do you think they bought it?
I bought it.
Good. I'm sorry I scared you, John.
You know to warn me.
This week we are reading a spooky, scary story called Vampironica, written and drawn by Greg and Meg Smallwood. Greg Smallwood did issues 1 through 3. Greg Scott.
Well, the story's by Greg and Meg Smallwood. The art's by Greg Smallwood and Greg Scott.
Yes, Greg and Greg. This book, it's exactly what it says on the cover. It's Veronica as a vampire.
Yep, Veronica Lodge as a vampire.
All right, and we'll see you next week for when we read Betty is just a werewolf. No, I'm kidding. But, I mean, that's what it is. That's the whole book. It's just Vampire Veronica, and it's great. But it opens with Cheryl Blossom is like, hey, guys, who wants to do shots off my body? And it's weird that Cheryl and Veronica sound so similar. But it is what it is. And someone interrupts her because Cheryl's having a party. I should have mentioned that. They're not just like at her house.
She's not just walking around the manor going, who wants body shots? And no one is there.
I'm Sarah Blossom. She's gone insane. She's in an asylum. No, so Cheryl Blossom is throwing a party at her house and is trying to get people to do body shots with her. And they're like, oh, yeah, hot girl. And she's like, oh, God, there's plenty of show to go around. And as that happens, a vampire runs and tries to kill her. But it's stopped by Veronica Lodge. And she's like, vampires are gross. I mean, I'm a vampire, but, like, I'm cool vampire.
She throws the vampire in the pool and then walks out of the pool with vampire eyes and teeth. And says, hey, Cheryl, cool party.
Hey, cool party. And, like, that's not made up. That's, like, the actual line. And then it flashes back to 3 days before. And they're doing a cheer for Riverdale, and this is the cheer. Break that wall. Make them fall. Across the goal line, take the ball. Go Bulldogs. And I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it as well. But
it's
also,
so dumb.
Archie is allowed a vast allotment of camp.
Archie can do very little.
That is what it is. Also, the art style is very pulpy. Kind of like a retro color palette. Not vibrant at all. Like, this part, at least, is like not vibrant until it gets to nighttime and it gets spooky. It's great.
It's great. It's very, very cool. Archie comes up to Veronica and is like, hello, it's me, Archie. Because he's an idiot and I love him. And she's like, Archiekins, it's you. Are we going to go out for a date? And he's like, I can't date you right now. I'm dating Betty. And I was like, I forgot for a minute that, like, I was like, this is misogynistic. I was like, oh, no. That's Archie. He dates two women at the same time, but he's not doing it to be like a stud or like a jerk. He just can't decide. He literally can't decide he loves them both. And they're like, it is what it is. Why is this okay with, because it is. I'm okay with this. Why is that, John? Help me out.
I mean, I could give a very real, not funny answer, but I don't.
Boo.
I don't think that's what we're here for.
I don't want the not funny answer. I want the funny answer.
Also, what we're not here for, because talk about Archie's like flame broiled hair for like a second.
Well, they have to have that because that's what he always had. He had like the cross
the
stitches
grid
in his hair.
in his undercut.
Yeah. Go look at like the old Archie comics. It's like the top part is longer,
fuller to me, I guess.
Well, in the old one, it's like literally black lines. This one like makes it look kind of like it's a style choice, like it was like shaved into his head on purpose. Whereas the old Archie comics, he just has like squares on the side of his head because it was easy to draw and define. It's not great, but it is what it is. But it's clearly it's an homage to the original. Also, when him and Jason Blossom are in the same panel, they look at the same character, so you have to have just something to distinguish them.
Yeah, that is fair. I did take like a quick double take. I'm like, is that Archie? No, it's Jason.
It is Jason Blossom. So Archie's like,
I think another reason why I was confused is because this is basically using Riverdale Archie, except Jason isn't dead.
Yes.
Like Archie's like a football star.
It's using a little bit of Riverdale Archie, but like he was a football star in the original.
Yeah. But, like...
You just like Riverdale.
I do. Unabashedly.
Anyway. So, Archie's like, Ronnie, I'm sorry. I can't go out with you tonight. I'm going out. Betty and I are going to watch a movie. And she's like, it's not anything. We're just going to hang out. And Veronica's like, that's fine. I'm going out with Reggie. And Reggie's like, yeah, we totally are, babe. And she's like, you shut up. I don't like you. I'm just doing this to make Archie jealous. And Archie's like, okay, bye. And she's like, you pick me up at 6. My dad's having company over, and I don't want to be stuck there with him. You pick me up in your... He's like, I'm bringing the Jaguar. And she's like, ugh, this sucks. And she goes down to say goodbye to her dad for their date, and her dad and her mom are dead. And it's like, this got real fast. Yeah. What happened is a great question, John. They were killed by a vampire. And I don't mean like a businessman who like, he's got vampiric tendencies. No, like a literal vampire.
Like actual, factual vampire.
Yeah. A Strigoi, if you will. And
he drained their blood.
I've come to take your job. And so it then goes after Veronica, and she's able to stab him in the neck and get away, but she has been bitten. She runs out and gets into her father's car, or to her car, and she attempts to leave the grounds, but the vampire has followed her outside and is trying to stop her. But she runs him over and literally says the line, car beats face.
Yep, which is true.
I've literally never seen that employed in rock, paper, scissors, but I gotta tell you, I think it would win every time.
Car beats face.
If you rock, paper, scissors, car. Man, I put paper. You're winning every game.
I could see a corner case for scissors, like messing with the tire, but like it's not.
But if you drive over scissors, I still think the car.
The car itself is fine.
So she does this, and she's like, haha, I won, I beat the vampire, not realizing that she's driving directly into oncoming headlights. Those headlights belong to Reggie
Mandel.
And there's a car accident, and since Veronica was too busy worrying about hitting the vampire, she didn't put her seatbelt on, and she flies out of the car head first and lands on the road. She is okay, though, which is insane. She's hurt. She's okay. She gets up and she goes to check on Reggie, and she sees some blood, and she's like, Reggie, you look so good. You smell so good. And she goes from, oh my God, Reggie, to, oh my God, Reggie, which is my Veronica vampire voice, and you can't tell me different. She goes all full vampire and goes to bite Reggie, and she, stop, no, stop, I can't do that. It's bad. That'd be bad. and she runs off into the woods to regain her composure. She pulls glass out of her arm because, just used in a car accident, so there's glass in her arm. And in doing so, the arm miraculously heals very, very quickly. She is now a full vampire. Back at the crash site, Reggie is awakening from his damaged car, and a man is there to offer him some help. That man is the vampire we just saw. Oh, blah.
Who killed the Lodges.
Blah. And that's the end of the first issue. And I was like, so I'm reading this. I'm like, whoa, first issue's already done? I would have been furious if this is the first issue and I had to buy these in issues. I'm reading this as a trade. I'd be so ready for the next issue.
Granted, I imagine this is cheaper than, say, a Marvel book. So it's not quite the financial investment. But yeah, it was very quick. This book is very quick, which I was very appreciative of this week, to be completely honest.
Well, it's like a good horror pulp book, right? It's like,
yes.
In and out. Here's a story, have fun, which I love.
The man named Brady, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Issue 2 opens up with Veronica has her composure regained once more, and she goes back to check on Reggie, but Reggie and the car and her car are completely gone. What? That's crazy. But she's terrified that fanged freak might still be out there, so she has to run. She runs to the only place that she knows that she can be safe, Archie. But Archie is currently, and I'm going to use this word, and I think I'm using it correctly, necking with Betty?
No, they're not actually necking.
What is necking?
Necking is like making out. They're about to.
Oh, it's like 50s term for making out?
Yeah.
I thought it was 50s term for like cuddling. I don't know. The 50s were terrible.
So, yeah, they're Archie and Betty. They're watching the movie. And Veronica's like, Betty, you're trying so hard to be scared. That's so obvious. You're not actually scared.
And Betty's like, oh my god, I'm so scared.
You're being stupid. And they're about to go in for a kiss, and then there's a mysterious crack at the window, and then Veronica leaves. But then Betty's like, what was that noise? I don't know.
Archie's like,
so then Veronica has to go to the school. She goes to school to pass the night when she is discovered by
Nerd Boy.
Nerd Boy. Trying to think of his actual name, and I'm drawing a blank.
Dilton.
But Dilton. Thank you. Common everyday name of Dilton. So he's like, hey, you don't look so hot. Also, you're like a vampire.
And she's like, wow, first time I ever heard that.
Don't tell anyone.
I'm always hot.
Yeah, exactly. Don't tell anyone. So they come up with a plan where he's like, hey, why don't you come over to my house for dinner tonight? I know about this weird, crazy occult stuff, very plot conveniently. And we'll figure out what to do.
Because just like in all those pulp horror movies. Yeah. Well, you skipped a little bit. He's like, you skipped around a little bit, but he's like, hey, you okay? There's blood on you. She's like, I'm fine. And then she passes out. And then she wakes up chained in the school, chained to a desk, and is like, hey, you're a vampire. And she's like, what? That's crazy. Give me blood to drink. And he does. And it's like, then he does the, why don't you come back with me?
It's pig's blood.
No, I think the first one's his blood, isn't it?
I thought it was pig's blood.
I don't know. He definitely gives her pig's blood at one point. But during the time she's passed out, and before she agrees to go hang out at Dilbert's house, Dilton's house.
Dilton.
She has a dream. And in this dream, she is walking through a department store as she would. And she's like hanging out, and it's really great, and she loves that. And she's having a fun time, and
Until there are 3 heads by the purses.
And the 3 heads are Betty, Veronica, Betty, Archie, and Jughead. And they're all like, ew, you're gross. And she becomes a full-on, like, gross-looking vampire, like a half-bat person.
Yep. And then the shop owner in this case is the man who killed the Lodges. Is like, you have to leave. We don't allow animals in the store. I'm not an animal. Aren't you? Wakes up.
And he says exactly that. It's crazy. They go back to Dilton's house, and Dilton's like, hey, vampire lore. And she's like, what? And he like knows a lot about vampire lore, but as they would always have in those old school horror movies, like, of course, I am the one vampire scholar in 16 miles. Amazing. And they develop a plan to get rid of the head vampire, which they assume is that guy that killed her parents. Back at the football game, Archie's like, hey, we won. And Betty's like, that's crazy that Veronica's not here. I've been, like, trying to reach her all day. I, like, called her and stuff. And
I've been calling her all day, I swear.
I haven't heard
She's flaking.
Crazy. Yeah, she is the problem. Date me. Love me.
Meanwhile, Reggie Mantle is making vampires out of ladies.
Well, Reggie Mantle is kicking butt on the field and turning ladies into vampires. Because he's a vampire now.
Well, he's got that vampire strength.
It's real scary. That's the end of issue 2. Issue 3 opens up with Betty and Jughead being like, oh, hey, a lot of missing girls. Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, you ever heard from Veronica? Nope. A lot of missing girls, though. That's crazy. And they just move on with it. And Veronica goes back to her house to try to kill that main vampire guy. And she's like, Dilton's like, hey, here's some blood. And she's like, hey, this is pig's blood. This is gross. Well, if you didn't take so long, you took too long shopping. And she goes, wait, hold on. There is no such thing as too long for shopping. Okay? And he's like, that's funny. Stereotypes. But it's played well in this. I like this a lot. And she goes into the house looking for her parents and looking for the vampire, the evil vampire. She can't find him, but she does find a ton of vampires in the floor of their basement. And at the same time, Archie shows up because he misses Veronica. And the Lodges are like, yes, totally fine. Come inside, Archie.
Come
we
in,
love
Archie.
You now.
I've never been happier to see you for no reason.
Never in my life. Or is it death? We're going to kill you. But all for you, Veronica, to make you happy so you can be with him forever. And the bad guy comes out and he's like, yes, it's totally right, Hiram. We're going to kill the Archie and the Betty. Blah. And,
their plan is to turn everyone they like into a vampire this night.
And kill everybody else who they don't like. Because then they win. Mm-hmm. As the plan is starting to come to fruition, and they're maybe going to pull Veronica in. Oh my god, are they going to get her? The wall explodes, and Dilton busts in, and probably would have said a cool line, but he didn't. And he shoots a stake at the head vampire guy, and
using a crossbow
to push him away. They let go of Archie gets freed. He's like, "Come on, we got to go, Archie!" And they run. Veronica fights this guy a little bit. To the point, throw some holy water on him, and Archie stabs him in the chest long enough to break the control over Veronica's dad just a little bit, and she sees like, oh, okay, this is good. We can do this. They all run away. The thing that got me was in this is all the vampires are in light all the time, and it's totally fine. And it just is what it is. They don't explain it. They don't have to explain it because vampires aren't real, so there's no actual rules for actual vampires. You can make up whatever you want. So in this particular universe, vampires can go in the sunlight, and that's fine. Veronica explains to Archie, and he's like, yep, I totally believe that. That makes sense, because of course he does. And they know that they need to save everybody, but how are they going to stop the vampire's plan? Dylan's like, well, think about it. They're probably going to get the strongest and fastest and biggest people in town, first, and then they can use that because vampire growth is exponential. You get one, that guy gets two, then those two get two, and so on and so forth. And Archie's like, well, yeah, but where are all the strong people going to be? And he goes, oh my god, the party.
Cheryl's pool party with the body shot.
And that's when they knew there would be body shots.
And so they run to the party, and Betty's there talking to not Archie. It's Jason.
Jason Blossom.
But looks just like Archie. And he's like, my dad has a Porsche. Mm-hmm. And she's like, that's great. You're not Archie. So. And vampires attack. And before the vampires can kill Betty, Archie and Veronica hit them with the car, and Veronica's like, hey, I know what you're thinking. New look, and you're right. And she looks freaking great. And I absolutely love Veronica so much. She's so wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That ends that issue. Issue 3, we go into issue 4. Issue 4 is just the pool party. And it's great. So, to briefly summarize the pool party, they have super soakers full of holy water. They have stakes as a last resort because they don't want to kill anybody. And they have garlic. And that's great. And the vampires attack the party. And Cheryl's like, oh my god, Veronica, you're being such an attention hog. And Veronica's like, oh, yeah, I'm the attention hog? I'm not the one yelling body shots. Everyone look at me. And It's so great. I would watch a presidential debate between Cheryl and Veronica. As long as they talk like I talk. Like,
oh, man, can you imagine?
Oh, man, what a good ending joke that would be. The party continues, and in one of the best scenes in Jughead history, Jughead's like, if I'm going to die because of vampires, I'm not going out on an empty stomach. And he's eating spaghetti and garlic bread, and he burps on a vampire, and he's like, oh, right, garlic. And then he uses that to ward off vampires, and it's great. And the vampires are attacking, and they get to the point where the vampires, the main vampire and Veronica's parents take Betty. And she's like, oh, this is bad. Tell you what, let Betty go, and I'll go with you. And they're like, wonderful. Well, I lost the vampire voice. This is good. This is very good. Yes, I'm very happy with this. Blah. And she says, are we ready, Dilton? And he's like, we're so ready. Because he had been pouring holy water into the pool. And she takes him, so it takes the main vampire, and she throws him into the pool, and this kills him. Oh my god, the curse is broken, right? Wrong. Everybody's still vampires.
He wasn't the main vampire.
They have to go find the main vampire, and she's like, "Wait a second. When I was in my basement, I saw like a coffin, and it had like the old vampire symbol on it, the cult of the dragon,
the like order of the dragon or something."
And she's like, and they're like, "Yeah, cool. You do that. We'll fend everybody off here." And they do that by jumping into the pool.
So they plan at the pool and go to the center of the pool
because the vampires can't get in there. And they're like, haha, we're safe. And then Hiram goes drain the pool. And they're like, uh-oh.
So their whole plan is just buy Ronnie time.
And they do. And this is what happens to Ronnie.
They do.
She goes into her house, and she's accosted by 3 ghosts of Christmas past. The first being a horrible giant spider. The second being her dad and Archie saying that they don't actually love her, and they think she's ugly inside and out.
And that Hiram paid Archie to go out with Veronica because no one could love Veronica.
And then Betty, in a wedding dress, getting married to Archie. And Veronica realizes that these are not real. These are figments created by the vampire to keep her away, to scare her, to make her run. We're in issue 5, by the way. Mm-hmm. Issue 5 has the best cover of Veronica sitting poolside, reading... What is she reading? She's reading Dracula by Bram Stoker, of course. Drinking a Bloody Mary, but it's just blood. And the pool is just full of blood and dead bodies. And it's really great, and I love it.
But she's got like a fun hat.
She does, and glasses, and she's got a little purple polka dot bikini. Oh, I just got that. Like the song. You know the song, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor?
The song is Yellow.
No, it's Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. And these horrible visions don't deter Veronica because Veronica is smarter and has a stronger will than this. And the vampire wasn't expecting that. And she gets down into the basement finally after escaping these 3 horrible visions. And at the same time, the pool is being drained and the vampires are going to get in. And she gets down there and she opens the coffin and it's her.
It's her.
Bad bob cut with weird-looking Elvira clothes on. And she says... You know what? She says, you know how I know that this isn't real? And the vampire's like, hiss? And like looks at her like, well, oops.
I would be caught dead.
And she stabs the vampire her in the heart. And the vampire her turns out to just be like an old man with a creepy mustache. And she's no longer a vampire, and neither is anybody else in town. And it's all over and safe. And they did it. And it's really good. It was really fun. Really.
It's a very fun, light, happy ending. Anyway, fun,
I'm mad that I don't have any Vampironica shirts because they're great.
And 'tis the season.
There's also a bonus issue in this, Jughead the Hunger issue 4. We won't talk about that. We'll talk about that another time when we actually read Jughead the Hunger, I'm sure, at some point. But it's basically just a flashback issue that explains whatever's going on in that story. And that story just essentially revolves around a blood feud between the Jughead family, the Joneses, and the Coopers, Betty's family. And one is a family of vampire hunter or werewolf hunters, and the other is a family of werewolves. And that's just all that is.
It is very clever, though, to include a full issue like that in the trade. Because, like, if you're into Vampironica, you're probably into the Hunter.
Absolutely. It's very smart.
They're very, very close.
Very, very smart. I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of this. So, John, what did you think of this book overall?
I thought it was great. It is a simple premise. It delivers on it fantastically. It won't change your life, but like you knew what you signed up for when you opened Vampironica.
I love the idea that we get more pulpy horror nonsense every once in a while. And this was just right up that alley, and I loved it so much. And it involved my favorite of the Archie characters, and it was so good.
Veronica Lodge is a treasure.
Love her. Big fan. Big fan. Would you read more of this? Not that we're going to read it next week or anything, but would you continue to read this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was very fun, very quick.
I like that a lot. I like how quick it was. All right, well, let's finish this podcast up and talk what we're going to read next week. Ooh, spooky. And that's the podcast this week, John. Happy Spooky Month. Whoa,
Happy Spooktober.
Probably past. It might be called Spookvember at this point.
It's going to be. It's going to spill over.
It's going to be Spookvember. You'll live. Oh, no. I had a good time. But I'm looking forward to not having a good time next week when we cover The Boys episodes.
Season 2, Volume 2.
5 through 9?
5 through 8.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. From what I understand, it's real dark.
I thankfully haven't heard much.
Good.
So
well, we're going to be reading it.
I'm cautiously optimistic for it, even though it can't go well, because it can't.
No, it can't. It will not. But we'll see what happens. But after that, we are going to continue Spookvember at this point with Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Volume 1. Which is written by Kelly Thompson, and the art is done by Andy and Veronica Fish, as well as Jack Morelli. It is an Archie comic, so we're going to continue the Archie horror stuff. This one's less horror, but like she's a witch, like that's spooky.
We are learning just how much Archie horror content there is, and there's much more than we bargained for.
There are novels and there are comics, but not shirts. What the hell?
Hey man,
anyway.
It's like I always say, hex sells.
Oh my God, I hate you. Who lets you talk?
You, mostly.
Yeah, me. Ugh. Anyway. Yeah, okay. God, gross. Anyway, that's, I'm looking forward to that, but we do actually have to cut for time now because we are throwing right to the student president debates.
Yeah, we're getting preempted.
Head of student council debates. So, thank you very much, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
And now, breaking news. We cut live to the presidential student debates featuring candidate Veronica Lodge and standing president Cheryl Blossom.
Now, President Blossom, what do you feel about the price of pizza in the cafeteria?
The price of pizza has never been a problem. You just pay money.
Excuse me. I would just like to talk over you for a second. Listen, you are the worst. You
What?
heard me.
Excuse, you can't talk over each other. We need to be civil, please.
I'm sorry. I think I could stand my entire stance up with "Who wants body shot?"
Okay.
No, excuse me.
This is ridiculous. You can't even do it. Body shots, that's not going to win anybody over. What's really going to win you guys over is me talking to you guys as a person. And
I think it'll win over half
oh my
the
God.
student
This
body.
is ridiculous. I am trying to talk. Also, more than half. It's the 90s. I'm talking to you as the public of our school. And I think that you need to understand that the real problem here is not the price of pizza. It's having a leader with red hair who just is the worst.
Excuse me, but not only is that false, that was half the question.
I was talking. Excuse me. You have a fly in your head.
No. You're mistaken.
Ladies.
That fly wouldn't go on my head because my hair is clean.
Final question. What is this week?
I don't know
Well,
how
let
to
me answer
that
it for you.
question.
That is the podcast this week.
can follow us on Twitter at Talking Trades. Follow Jeremy on Twitter at LizardKing27. You can find John on Twitter at Maesterlaka, Maesterlaka. And for this and other projects from Matt, please check out Facebook at Matt Speed and Music. And remember, we're not experts, we're fans.